Greetings all, and welcome to my series read by Jonathan Thomas Jones, where I read short stories and present accompanying pieces of art that I've put together. I am, of course, Jonathan Thomas Jones, writer, illustrator, and voice actor, and I hope you'll enjoy. Be sure to comment, like, share, and subscribe. Stay tuned for more information at the end of the video. Thank you. This week I will be reading The Bottle Imp by R. Stevenson. There was a man in the island of Hawaii. I shall call him Kiave. He is still living, and no one must know his name. This man was poor, but he could read and write like a teacher. He worked for some time on the island steamers, and then on a boat on the coast. At last, Kiave decided to see the great world and big cities, so he went to San Francisco. This is a fine town. Many of the people there have a lot of money. Some of them live on a hill in fine houses. One day Kiave was walking on this hill with his pocket full of money. What fine houses these are, he was thinking, and how happy must those people be who live in them. He was thinking of this, and then he came to a house that was smaller than the others, but it was as fine as a flower, and the windows gave off light like diamonds. Kiave stopped to look at it. So stopping, he saw a man that looked out of a window. Kiave could see him as clearly as you can see a fish in the water. The man smiled and smiled as if to tell Kiave to come in, and he met him at the door of the house. "My house is a fine house, isn't it?" he said. "Please come in and look at the rooms." So he took Kiave all over the house, and everything in it was as good can be. "This is a beautiful house," Kiave said. "If I lived in it, I should be laughing all day. How is it, then, that you are not?" "If you like," the man said, "you can have one like it, or even finer. You have some money, I think?" "I have $50, Kiave said, "but a house like this will cost more than $50. "I am sorry that you have no more," the man said, "but you shall have it for $50. "The house?" Kiave asked. "No, not the house," the man said, "but the bottle. For I must tell you one thing. This house, and the garden, and all the things I have, came out of a small bottle. Here it is." And he took out a small round bottle with a long neck. The glass was white, and in it something moved, but what it was you could not see. "This is the bottle," the man said. Kiave laughed. "This is a thing I don't understand." "It came from hell," the man said, "and an imp lives in it. Look, you can see it moving. If a man buys this bottle, the imp will do everything for him. All that he wants, a house like this, or even a city, or money. All this can be his. He only has to say the word. Napoleon had this bottle, but he sold it and fell." "And yet you want to sell it?" Kiave asked. "I have all I want," said the man, "and I am getting old. There is one thing the imp cannot do. He cannot make life longer. Also, if a man has the bottle, when he dies, he goes to hell." "Well," said Kiave, "I'm certainly not going to buy such a thing." "Listen," the man answered. "You only have to get what you want. Then you sell the bottle again." "Well," Kiave said, "I see two things. You are not happy, and you sell this bottle very cheap." "I am getting old," the man said. "Like you, I do not want to die and go to hell. But I must tell you one thing. When the devil brought the bottle into the world, it cost a lot of money, many millions of dollars. But you must sell it cheaper than you bought it. The price has fallen all the time, and the bottle is now very cheap. I paid only $90, and I must sell it cheaper, or it will come back to me." "How do I know that all this is true?" Kiave asked. "Try it," the man said. "Give me your $50, take the bottle, and wish your $50 back into your pocket. If you don't get them, I will take the bottle back." "Well, I will do that," Kiave said. and he gave the man his money, and the man handed him the bottle. "Imp of the bottle," Kiave said, "I want my $50 back." And there was the money in his pocket. "Now good morning," said the man, "and the devil go with you." "Stop," Kiave said. "Here, take your bottle back." "You have bought it cheaper than I," the man said. "Now it is yours." And with these words he called the Chinese boy, who showed Kiave out of the house. Now when Kiave was in the street, with the bottle under his arm, he began to think. First he looked at his money. It was there all right. "This seems true," Kiave said. "Now let us try something else." It was 12 o'clock, but there were not many people in the street. Kiave put the bottle on the ground and walked away. He looked back, and there was the bottle in the same place. He looked back again, and the bottle was still there. A third time he looked back, and there was the bottle in his pocket with the long neck showing. "This seems to be true too," Kiave said. Next, he bought a corkscrew in the shop and went out into the fields. He tried to pull the cork out, but every time he put the screw in, out it came again. "This is some sort of cork," he said, and the sweat began to run down his face. On his way back to his ship, he saw a shop where they sold all sorts of things. There he had a good idea. He went in and asked the man to buy the bottle for $100. The man laughed and said that he would give him 5. Then they talked for half an hour. In the end, the man gave Kiave $60 and set the bottle in his window. "Now," Kiave said, "I have sold for 60 what I bought for 50. Soon I shall know if the other thing is true." So he went back to his ship. When he opened his chest, there was the bottle, and it had come more quickly than himself. Now Kiave had a friend named Lopaka. "What is the matter?" asked Lopaka. They were alone in their room, and Kiave told him all. "I don't understand this," Lopaka said. "You have the bottle. It can give you good things, so why not use it? Then, if it is all as you wish, I will buy the bottle myself." "My idea," Kiave said, "is to have a beautiful house and garden on the coast where I was born. There will be sun coming in at the window, flowers in the garden, glass in the windows, pictures on the walls, just like the house I was in this morning, only 1 floor higher, and with balconies like the king's house. There I shall live with my friends and family." "Well," said Lopaka, "let us carry the bottle back to Hawaii. If all comes true, I will buy the bottle and wish for a schooner." Soon the ship came back to Honolulu with Kiave and Lopaka and the bottle. When they left the ship, they met a friend. He told them that Kiave's uncle was dead. Kiave began to cry, but Lopaka was thinking to himself. And after some time he said to Kiave, "I've been thinking. Hadn't your uncle lands in Hawaii?" "Yes," said Kiave, "at Ho'okina." "And these lands will now be yours?" Lopaka asked. "Yes, they will," said Kiave, and began to cry. "No," said Lopaka, "don't cry. I have been thinking. This is just the place for your house. Perhaps it came from the bottle." "If this is so," said Kiave, "it is a very bad way to help me. It kills my family. But I was thinking of such a place." "The house is not built yet," Lopaka said. "And it will not be," Kiave said, "for my uncle has no money." "Let us go to the lawyer," Lopaka said. "I still have this idea in my mind." So they came to the lawyers. There they found that Kiave's uncle had become very rich in the end, and there was much money. "And here is the money for the house," said Lopaka. "If you are thinking of a new house," said the lawyer, "I know a very good architect." "Better and better," said Lopaka. "Let us go." So they went to the architect, and he had drawings on his table. "You want something good?" he said. "How do you like this?" And he handed Kiave a drawing. Now when Kiave saw the drawing, he cried out, for it was the picture of the house of his dreams. So he told the architect all he wanted. Then he asked him what the house would cost. The architect asked him many questions. Then he told Kiave what the house would cost, and that was as much money as Kiave had. Kiave and Lopaka looked at each other. "I can see," Kiave said, "that I am to have this house. It comes from the devil, and that is not good. I will make no more wishes as long as I live." So they left the architect, and Kiave and Lopaka took ship again to Australia. And all the time Kiave took care to make no more wishes. When they got back, the house was ready, and they went to see it. Now the house stood on a mountainside with a garden round it, with all sorts of flowers and fruit trees. It was 3 floors high, with great rooms and balconies on all sides. The windows were of glass. There were tables and chairs and pictures of beautiful women and men fighting. Books with many pictures, clocks, and musical boxes. And from the balconies Kiave could see the sea and all the ships going up to Huokina. "Well," said Lopaka, "is it all just as you wished?" "Words cannot say," answered Kiave. "It is better than I dreamed." "This may not come from the bottle at all," Lopaka said. "So if I buy the bottle and I do not get the schooner, what then? I don't want you to put my hand into the fire for nothing. So before I buy the bottle, let me see the imp. After that, here is the money." "There's only one thing that I don't like," said Kiave. "The imp may not be very nice to look at. You may not want to buy the bottle if you see him." "I have given you my word," Lopaka said. "So come and let us look at you, Mr. Imp." At these words the imp looked out of the bottle, and was in again, and there sat Kiave and Lopaka, and could not speak or move. Night came before they could say a word. Then Lopaka gave Kiave the money and took the bottle. Lopaka went down the mountain, and Kiave stood on the balcony. He asked God to take care of his friend, and he thanked him because the bottle was gone. But the next day came, and the new house was so beautiful that Kiave forgot all about the bottle. One day followed another, and Kiave lived there, as happy as a man can be. He could not walk through the rooms without singing, and the people heard him. They told each other what they had seen and heard, and they called the house the Great House, or sometimes the Bright House, for Kiave had a Chinaman who kept the house clean and bright. Time went by. Then one day Kiave went to see some friends who lived at Kailua. There he had a good time. He left early the next morning, for he wanted to go back to his house. As he was riding, he saw a woman swimming in the sea. When he came up to the place, she had put on her red holoku, and he saw that her eyes were bright and kind, and Kiave stopped his horse. "I thought I knew everyone in this country," he said. "How is it that I don't know you?" "I am Kokua, daughter of Keanu," said the girl, "and I have just come back from Oahu. Who are you?" "I will tell you who I am," Kiave said. "Only not now. If you know who I am, you may not give me a true answer. But tell me first, are you married?" Kokua only laughed. "It is you who ask questions," she said. "Are you married yourself?" "I am not, Kokua," Kiave answered. "But I have met you at the roadside, and I saw your eyes, and I loved you at once. If you don't want to see me, say so, and I will go home. But if you like me, just as well as any other young man, say so too. Then we will go to your father's house, and I will talk to the good man in the morning." Kokua didn't say a word, but she looked at the sea and laughed. "Kokua," said Kiave, "if you say nothing, let us go to your father's house." Now when they came to the door, Keanu came out and called Kiave by name. At that the girl looked at them, for she had heard of the great house. The next day, Kiave had a word with Keanu, and later found the girl alone. "Cocoa," he said, "I did not want to tell you who I was because I have so fine a house. I was afraid that you would think too much of the house and too little of the man who loves you. If you want me to go away, say so." "No," said Cocoa, but this time she did not laugh. "Here is this young man," she thought. "I met him only yesterday. If I marry him, I must leave my father and mother and the place where I was born." Kiave left her and rode up the hill to his house, singing all the way. And as he sat at the table, he was still singing. The sun went down in the sea, and the Chinaman heard him sing between the mouthfuls. "For the first time," Kiave said to himself, "I will use my fine bath with the hot and cold water." So the Chinaman got the bath ready. He heard Kiave sing and then stop. He listened. Then he called to Kiave to ask if all was well. Kiave answered, "Yes," and told him go to bed. All night long the Chinaman heard him walking around and round the balconies. Now, when Kiave took off his clothes, he saw on his body a small spot, and it was then that he stopped singing. For he knew that spot, and knew that he had got the Chinese evil. Now it is a bad thing for any man to get the Chinese evil, and to leave the house so beautiful and go away from all his friends to the north coast of Molokai. What did it mean to a man like Kiave, who had met his love only that morning? "I can go to Molokai," Kiave said to himself. "There I can live with the other people who have got the Chinese evil. What have I done wrong? Why must I meet Cocoa this morning and then have to go away from her tomorrow?" Now you can see what kind of man Kiave was. He could perhaps live with the Chinese evil for many years, and perhaps nobody would see it. But how could he do that and not tell Cocoa? A little after midnight he remembered the bottle. He remembered the day he saw the imp look out of the bottle. "What?" he said. "Would I buy the bottle once only to get a house, and not do it again to get Cocoa? I must go to Honolulu first," he said, "and find Lopaka. Now I have only one hope, to find the bottle I was so glad to sell." The next morning he sent a letter to Keanu. Then he rode down the hill to the steamer. It was raining, and his horse went very slowly. He remembered how fast he had ridden up the hill the day before, and was sad. He came down to Ho'okina. There were all the people to meet the steamer. They were all talking and laughing. Only Kiave sat there looking at the rain and did not say a word. "Kiave of the great house is sad," said one to another, and so he was. Sitting on the deck of the steamer, he looked at the house of Keanu, a long way off over the sea. There it was, and there by the door was the red haloku. "O queen of my heart," he said, "I will do anything to win you." Kiave walked the deck all night. The next day, when they passed Molokai, he was still walking up and down like an animal at the zoo. Once in Honolulu, Kiave stepped out among the people and began to ask for Lopaka. It seemed that he had got a schooner and had gone fishing among the islands. Kiave remembered a friend of Lopaka's, a lawyer in the town, I must not tell you his name, and asked where the man lived. They said that he had grown very rich and had a fine new house at Waikiki. And this gave Kiave an idea. He went to the lawyer's house. "You are a friend of Lopaka's," said Kiave, "and Lopaka bought something from me. Perhaps you can help me to find it." "Mr. Kiave," said the lawyer, "I do not like to speak about this, but I think I can help you." And he named the name of a man, which again I shall not tell you. So it was for days. Kiave went from one to another. They all had fine clothes and new houses, but when he said what he wanted, their faces became dark. "When I see a white face and I hear crying," Kiave said, "I shall know I am near the bottle." At last he was told to go to a young white man in Baratania Street. When he came to the place, it was of course a very fine new house. Kiave went up to the door. A young man came out, white in the face and black about the eyes. Here it is, to be sure, thought Kiave. So he said, I have come to buy the bottle. The bottle? The young man repeated. To buy the bottle? Yes, Kiave said. I have come to buy the bottle. What is the price now? The price? You don't know the price? That is what I am asking you, Kiave said. Is there anything wrong with the price? It has dropped very low since your time, Mr. Kiave, said the young man. Well, what did you pay for it? 2 cents, he said. What? Said Kiave. Then you can only sell it for 1 cent, and he who buys it. The young man fell down in front of Kiave. Buy it, he said. Oh, why did I ever buy it? I had taken some money in the shop where I work, and I didn't know what to do. Poor man, said Kiave. Give me the bottle, and here is a 5-cent piece. The young man gave Kiave back 4 cents, and Kiave got the bottle. As soon as Kiave had it in his hands, he wished the spot on his body away, and when he got back to his hotel and took off his clothes, his skin was as fine as a baby's. But Kiave thought no more of the Chinese evil, and little enough of Kokua, for he had only one thought, that now the bottle was his forever and ever. Away in front of him he saw only the fire of hell. In the evening, Kiave felt a little better and remembered something. It was the night when the band played at the hotel. There he went, because he did not like to be alone, and there, among happy people, he walked up and down, and all the time he saw before him the red fire of hell. After 2 hours he heard the band play Hiki Ao Ao. That was the song he had sung with Kokua, and he felt strong again. It is done now, he said. Let me take the good with the bad. And he went back to Hawaii by the first steamer. As soon as possible he was married to Kokua, and carried her up the hill to the bright house. Now when these two were together, Kiave's heart was still, but as soon as he was alone he saw the red fire of hell before him. The girl was so beautiful that it pleased everybody to see her. She was always singing, and went up and down in the bright house, the brightest thing in it. But there came a day when her feet began to be heavy, and she stopped singing. Each of them sat on his or her own balcony. One day, Kiave heard someone crying. He found Kokua on the floor, her face wet with tears. You do well to cry in this house, he said, and yet I would give the head off my body to make you happy. Happy? She cried. Kiave, when you lived alone in your bright house, you were a happy man. That is what everybody said. Then you married poor Kokua. What is wrong with her? From that day you have not smiled. I thought I was pretty, and I knew that I loved you. Poor Kokua, said Kiave. He sat down by her side and tried to take her hand, but she took it away. Poor Kokua, my beautiful wife. I thought I could not tell you all, but now I shall do so. Then you will understand how much I loved you, and how much I love you still, so that I can smile when I see you. Then he told her all, even from the beginning. You have done all this for me? She cried. Then what do I care? And she cried and put her arms around his neck. Ah, child, said Kiave. When I think of the fires of hell, I care very much. A man cannot be lost because he loved Kokua, she said. I tell you, Kiave, I shall save you with my own hands. Ah, my dear, he cried, you could die 100 times, but I should still be alone to go to hell. You know nothing, she said. I went to school in Honolulu. I tell you I shall save you. What is this you are saying about a cent? There is France. There they have a coin which they call a centime. Centimes go 5 to the cent. We could not do better. Come, Kiave, let us go to the French islands. Let us go to Tahiti as fast as a ship can carry us. There we will have 4 centimes, 3 centimes, 2 centimes, 1 centime. The bottle can be sold 4 times yet. Come, Kiave, put your arms around me and let us go. Early the next morning, she took Kiave's old chest. First, she put the bottle in, and then all her best clothes and the finest things in the house. For, she said, we must look like rich people. If not, who will believe in the bottle? They told people that they were going to the United States. From Honolulu, they went to San Francisco, but from there, they took a steamer to Papeete, the biggest place in the French islands of Tahiti. They thought it best to take a house to show people that they had money enough. This was very easy so long as they had the bottle. Kokoa asked the imp for $20 or $100 when she wanted money. They got on well with the people after some time and learned to speak French, but when they began to speak about the bottle, people stayed away from them. Some did not believe what they said. To get everything they wanted for 4 centimes? What an idea! They just laughed. And the last man who bought the bottle would go to hell? That made people's faces grow dark. Sometimes Kiave and Kokoa sat at night in their new house and did not say a word. Other times, they had the bottle out on the floor and sat all evening and looked at it. At such times, they did not like to go to bed. Even if they did, one of them got up and left out of the house to walk under the trees in the little garden or along the sea in the moonlight. One night it was so when Kokoa opened her eyes. Kiave was gone. She felt in his bed. It was cold. She sat up in the bed. The room was bright with moonlight, and she could hear the wind. She could also hear another sound. She got out of bed and looked out. There, under the trees, lay Kiave, and he was crying. Kokoa wanted to run out and speak to him, but she went back into the house. Oh, she thought, now at last I know what I must do. She put on her clothes, took 4 centimes in her hand, and went out. The town was sleeping, but she heard somebody under the trees. It was an old man. Old man, she said, what are you doing here in the cold night? The old man was not well, and he could hardly speak. Will you do something for me? Said Kokoa. Will you help a daughter of Hawaii? So you are the woman that is from Hawaii. I have heard of you, and I will have nothing to do with you. Sit down here, said Kokoa, and let me tell you a story. And she told the story of Kiave from the beginning to the end. And now, she said, will you go to Kiave and buy the bottle for me? He will not sell it to me, but he will to you. Here are your 4 centimes. Give me the coins and wait for me here, said the old man. Now when Kokoa stood alone in the street, she seemed to see the fires of hell before her, and she wanted to run away, but she could not. The old man came back with the bottle in his hand. I have done what you asked me, he said. Before you give it to me, said Kokoa, ask the imp to make you well again. I am an old man. I will not have the devil do anything for me. Take the bottle. All right, said Kokoa at last. There is your money. Kokoa put the bottle under her haloku, said goodbye to the old man, and went off. She did not know where she was going. Sometimes she walked, and sometimes she ran. In the morning, she came back to the house and found Kiave sleeping like a child. Now, Kiave, she thought, tomorrow you can sing and laugh again. But for Kokoa, there will be no more sleep, no more singing. With that, she lay down in the bed by his side and slept at once. Later on, Kiave told her about the old man, but she could not answer him. They had breakfast, but she did not eat a thing, only heard Kiave talk and laugh. He who has the bottle now, said Kiave, will go to hell. Can't you see the fire? Urgh. Oh, Kiave, I could not laugh if another man was going to hell instead of me. Kiave felt that she was right and grew angry. Do you think you are a good wife? Why can't you smile and laugh? If you thought of me at all, you would be a good, happy wife, and go out with me." With these words he went out, and Kokua was alone. Kiave walked about the town all day. He met friends and drank with them. They went into the country together, and there drank more. And all the time Kiave was thinking of Kokua, and that made him drink even more. Now there was an old white man drinking with him. This was a bad man, who loved to drink and to see others drink too much. He made Kiave drink more and more. Soon there was no more money. "Look here," he said, "you are rich and have a bottle or something." "Yes," said Kiave, "I will go back to my wife and get some money. She keeps it." "Never you give a woman money," said the man. "You look after her." Back in town, Kiave asked the white man to wait for him. Then he went up to the house and looked in the back door. There was Kokua on the floor, and before her, the bottle with its long neck. For a long time, Kiave stood there and looked in at the door. Then he began to think, and understood. He closed the door, went round the house, and then came in by the front door. He spoke to Kokua. "I have been drinking all day," he said. "I have been with good friends, and have only come back for money." "You do well to use your own," said Kokua. "I do well in all things," said Kiave, and he went to the chest and took out some money. But he saw that there was no bottle in the chest. "It is as I thought," he said to himself. "She bought it." "Oh," cried Kokua, "give me a kind word only." "Let us always be good one to the other," said Kiave, and was gone out of the house. Outside in the street, there was the old white man waiting. "My wife has the bottle," said Kiave. "You must help me to get it, or there will be no more money tonight." "Is it really true, what you say about the bottle?" asked the messenger. "Look at my face and tell me if it is true." "Yes, it is." "Well then, here are 2 centimes. You go to my wife and buy the bottle, and then I will buy it from you for 1 centime. But don't tell her that you come from me." "Very well, I will try." So the old man went up to the house, and Kiave stood waiting. It seemed to him that a long time had passed. Then he heard the old man singing under the trees. Kiave looked up and saw the old man with the devil's bottle in his pocket, and a bottle of wine in his hand. And as Kiave looked at him, he drank. "You have it," said Kiave. "I see that." "Hands off!" cried the old man. "Take a step nearer me and I'll kill you." "What do you mean?" cried Kiave. "Mean?" cried the man. "This is a very good bottle, that's what I mean. How I got it for 2 centimes I can't understand, but you certainly shan't have it for 1. "You mean that you won't sell it?" asked Kiave. "No, sir," cried the old man, "but I'll give you a drink of wine if you like." "Listen," said Kiave. "The man who has that bottle goes to hell." "I think I'm going there in any case," said the man. "And this bottle is the best thing to take with me. No, sir. This is my bottle now, and you can go and find another. And if you won't have a drink, I'll have one myself. And good night to you." And the old man went down the road to the town. And there goes the bottle out of the story. But Kiave ran to Kokua, light as the wind, and very happy they were that night. And very happy they have been ever since in the Bright House. The end. I hope you enjoyed that story. I had a blast reading it. Be sure to comment, like, share, subscribe, and hit the bell so you can be notified whenever I post a new video. If you have any suggestions for other public domain stories, or you've written a story that you would like for me to read, please comment below or contact me via Twitter at JTGloryJones. You can even let me know if you would like prints of the art I post in these videos. If you'd like to see my other work, like my blog or the books I've written, please visit my website at jonathanthomasjones.com. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you soon.